Good day, leaders. Hi, I'm Dr. Sujay Walia, and today I want to continue our conversation on Mint leadership by discussing the first aspect of that, which is magnetic leadership. So, what did we say about magnetic leadership? Well, we spoke about it being the way that you attract the right talent to your team by creating a culture where persons like each other, respect each other, are driven towards performance, understand each other. And so with that people aspect there in magnetic leadership, where you are working on a culture that works for the team, and so you're attracting the right talent but not necessarily the best talent. And the right talent is a talent that can do the job, but also the talent that will fit into the culture, that will make this team successful, that will make the organization successful, that will help you to achieve the goals and the vision for the team and for the organization. So this is magnetic culture. And in that, I want to start off by talking about your emotional intelligence as a leader. And there are several aspects to the magnetic culture, but we're going to start with emotional intelligence. And what is that? So the emotional quotient, as we have defined here, is a measure of how a person recognizes emotion in themselves and in others, and how they manage these emotional states, how they manage themselves, how they respond instead of reacting to persons based on their own emotions, and how they observe the emotions of others and manage those so that we can work together as a team, as a group. And in emotional intelligence versus the intelligence quotient, for example, it's about emotions versus information, how you process your emotions versus how you process information. It's about heart, it's about feeling, and how you use that to work together and to achieve goals. And as a leader, it's not only about you anymore, it's about the persons that you are influencing, your team members, your colleagues, your clients. And so you have to be very self-assured about what affects you and how it affects you, and how you respond to the things that are triggering emotional states in you, negative and positive. And emotional intelligence is about that awareness, and then how you respond, how you regulate yourself and others. So we said self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, feeling what other persons are feeling, and how you can, based on your understanding of your emotional state and the emotional states of others, how you motivate persons and how you use your social skills, the building of relationships and so forth, to get persons and your team to perform optimally. So emotional intelligence. In the first, there are different states, and this one is based on Goldman. In the first state, we're talking about self-awareness, the ability to recognize and understand your moods, your emotions, what drives you, as well as how you are being is affecting other persons. What effect is your state having on other persons? When we talk about sales, for example, we say that we affect the states of others, we change their states. And when persons are in a negative state, we want to improve that state, and so we do things to affect, to change their state. So first of all, as a leader, how am I being? Who am I? I need awareness of my own emotions and how they're affecting others. I also need to be aware, social awareness, of how other persons are being and feeling. I need to be able to step into their shoes to understand them. Social awareness, the ability to understand the emotional makeup of other people, and skill in treating people according to their emotional reactions. So in social awareness, it's not about you, it's about them, how they're feeling and how you respond to that. Whereas self-awareness is, what is affecting me and how am I impacting others, and how are the emotions of other persons impacting me as well. So it's about a full awareness of how I'm impacting and how I'm being impacted, who I am. Okay, in the lower quadrants, we talk about regulation. what I do. And this is now how I respond to my triggers, to my emotional states. And self-management is our ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses and moods, the propensity to suspend judgment, or in other words, to think before acting. So when we're talking about self-management, you can either respond or react. If you've managed yourself properly, you are responding to the situation. If you're not managing properly, you're reacting, you're impulsive, you're going flying by the seat of your pants expression. It's you haven't thought through what this means and how you're going to respond to it. Your social skills now, again, this is how you handle relationships with other persons, and it's what you do, is your proficiency in managing relationships, building networks, finding common ground, building rapport, taking initiative, motivating persons. These are the different ways that you can respond to other persons based on your empathy and your understanding of what they're feeling and what they're going through. And in a leadership role, why is this so important? Why is emotional intelligence important? Well, it's important because you need your team members. You want them to achieve the vision. You want them to be motivated and inspired to work towards something. And so you need to understand who they are and what drives them and how to encourage them, right? And without an understanding of this, you won't be able to do that effectively, because you'll be doing it based on how you want to be motivated and inspired, and it could be very different from how your team members want to be motivated or inspired. So again, let's break it down. We have self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and social skills. And self-awareness is about your self-confidence. You understand who you are. You know who you are. You are aware of what sets you off, what triggers you, what gets you really upset. And you are aware of the things that motivate you, that drive you. And I'll just give you an example of my own self. I'm driven by deadlines. I know this about myself. So if I need to get something done and there is no deadline attached to it, it's not that it won't be done, but it won't be done right now. It will be done way down the line. And if it's not something that I enjoy, I'll keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And it may get done as well as it may never get done. So I understand that about myself. I also understand that in addition to the deadline, for tasks that I don't particularly like, I need to create a pain point. And the pain point is that if I don't do this task, there will be something unpleasant. Maybe I'll have to pay out some money or something. So whatever it is, if I know there's a particular task that I find that I don't like, unpleasant, I have to create a pain point around not doing that task to motivate me to do that task. This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about self-awareness. It's understanding what motivates you, what drives you, who you are, and working with your own drives and your own motivation to get the results that you desire. So it's having an accurate self-assessment, an accurate understanding of who you are and how you function. And it's also having a self-deprecating sense of humor. We can't take everything too seriously, and if we do that, we're wound up and uptight and everything becomes a problem. Sometimes we just need to let things be like water off a duck's back, just flow right off. And we need to be able to laugh at ourselves because we're human, we're not perfect beings. All right, so we understand who we are. How do we manage ourselves? I told you some of the things that I do because I know who I am, to manage myself so that I get the results that I need. And this is about controlling yourself and being able to not react, but to respond when things happen because you've thought them through and you understand. You're open to change. You're comfortable with ambiguity. You know that especially in today's environment, things are changing so rapidly. Technology is changing so rapidly. Everybody has access to information, whether it's true or false, whether it's false information, misinformation, correct information. It's immediate access to information. And so those factors can really affect how you get your job done, how you get the results that you want to get. So how do you respond to that if things aren't going the way that you want them to go? It's about being conscientious and being aware and being responsible, having integrity, being a person of your word and being trustworthy, being reliable, being somebody that if I say the sky is blue, the sky is in fact blue. It's not red, it's not green, it's not yellow, it's not purple. So it's being credible, believable, and being optimistic. Social awareness, again, we spoke about this earlier, having empathy, walking in that other person's shoes, feeling what they feel, trying to understand where they are coming from and not what you think they should be doing or what you would do. You know, we all look through the world through our own pair of, I call it lenses, our own pair of eyeglasses, where our knowledge and our experiences, the sum of these things and our interpretation of those things determine how we view things that happen. So if something happened to us repeatedly when we were a child and we interpreted it a certain way, if it happens again, that may be the interpretation that we apply, but that may not be what's actually happening. And so we're seeing the world through the lens of those experiences, while someone else who hasn't had our history is looking at us and thinking, what? What are you talking about? How did you come up with that conclusion? And so we need to be patient with other persons. And when you're a service-oriented leader, you're thinking not about yourself, but about your team members and what they're going through and how best you can help them. You understand that, you know, for example, that there are different cultures, especially in a global environment. We're working with persons locally, we're working with persons overseas, we're working with persons in different environments. Even within a country, within an organization, you can have different cultural aspects. It's about being sensitive to the different cultural aspects within your organization, within your country, and globally. And knowing that because this is true for you doesn't make it true for another. You know, we may be, you know, in Jamaica, for example, where I am from, we say, you know, people talk about Jamaica time, which is anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour after the scheduled time. Whereas everywhere else, well, maybe not everywhere else, but in a lot of places, they're less relaxed about you being on time for a meeting. If it's 10 o'clock, it's 10 o'clock. It's not 10:15, 10:20, 10:30, 11 o'clock. So that's a cultural difference. And if you go to, I don't know, maybe France, for example, they may be more relaxed about time, like Jamaicans. But maybe even the French think that Jamaicans are way too relaxed about time. So understand the differences in culture may affect how persons behave, how they respond to situations. And as a leader, you need to be aware of who is on your team and how they may respond to things. Step into their shoes, empathize, and see things from their perspective. And then finally, how do we respond to that? How do we regulate our behavior and in some instances the behavior of our team members in order to move everybody comfortably towards the goal and comfortably working together? And this is where we talk about influence. And you may recall I had said earlier in a different video that leadership is about influencing other persons. How do you do this? Well, we don't like the stick approach, we like the carrot approach. So we want to be inspirational. We want persons to see something and want it and dream big. And it's about developing persons so that they can achieve this inspirational target, this vision that you have either created for them or that as a team you have come up with together, which I think is the preferred way to do things. And as a leader, you are inclined to build relationships, to develop bonds between you and individual team members, between the team as a whole, between you and customers and your managers, your supervisors, your leaders. It's about getting persons to collaborate and to work together and finding common ground. And like it or not, you can't have leadership without being able to manage conflict. conflict occurs usually because of misunderstandings, sometimes differences in culture, differences in the way we manage our emotions, differences in the way that we interpret situations. And as a leader, you have to be skilled in getting persons on the same page, finding that common ground, and finding where we can work together, what went wrong, and how we can resolve it amicably. Another way to look at emotional intelligence is through the lens of how you perceive it, how aware you are of your emotions, how well you understand the emotions that you're going through, how you use your emotions and how you manage them, how you respond to others and to yourself, how you manage yourself. So as I was saying in the previous example, you can either, it's about how you are, who you are, things that are internal within you, and things that are external to you, the other persons, how you manage the states of other persons. So when you're perceiving emotion, it's about sensing your own emotional state. What are you feeling? What are you going through? What is affecting you? Who is affecting you? So that's how you're getting an awareness of what is happening within you. When you facilitate thought with emotion, how you use your emotion, it's about building your emotional response into decisions and problem solving. So it's about how we respond to these things. These are all the internals. I'm going to do the left side of the screen, how we respond internally first. And then it's about understanding the meaning of our emotions. Why am I feeling this way? What is bringing all these things up for me, whatever it is I'm going through, the thoughts and the conversations I'm having with myself? What does it mean, and why is that happening? And then what do I need to do to function more effectively? So this is now me managing my state. How do I ensure that if this happens again, I have a better response? I do things differently. I'm managing my state. I'm responding more effectively. I've thought about what I'm feeling, what it means, and how I want to respond. On the interpersonal, we're now concerned with how others are feeling and how they're behaving and how we can manage that and how we can understand that. So we observe their emotional state and we make an assessment of what we think they're going through, what they're feeling. We make decisions and we build our problem solving skills based on what we see happening with them. What is the best likely step that we should take based on what this person seems to be going through? Why is this person reacting this way to this stimulus? What is causing that? What's the thought process? What are they going through? Why are they feeling that way? If we do that, now we're empathizing with them and understanding. We're not only seeing, yes, John is sad, but John is sad because Sally said XYZ and it reminded him of ABC, and so he has gone back to a place and time. And then once we understand that emotional story, we can help them to manage their states and to function more effectively within the team. And we can help Sally to not trigger John in that negative way by speaking about those kinds of things or the way that it was phrased. So when we understand how we are, we can manage ourselves better. But as a leader, when we understand our team members and what what their emotional responses are, their emotional states, and why they're going through, by being empathic, then we can better manage the relationships between the team members and within the group so that we can all function more effectively. So the first step is understanding, having emotional intelligence, being aware of your emotional state, the state of your team members, the state of the persons that you're interacting with, and how you can best manage that and respond to that and create an environment where we can all work effectively. The next step in having magnetic leadership is creating a great place to work, a place where people want to come, want to enjoy coming to work, I speak about, often you've heard me say this, and thank God it's Monday culture, where, persons are excited. They can't wait to come to work on Monday because they love the people that they work with. They love the work that they do. And a great place to work is a thank God it's Monday, has a thank God it's Monday culture. It's where persons come and they build relationships and there's trust and we communicate effectively, that we understand each other. We like each other, we believe each other, and we work together effectively to achieve our goals. So what does that look like? Well, the criteria for a great place to work is that employees have to trust the people they work for. They have to have pride in what they do, and they have to enjoy. Enjoy. Can you imagine? Work, enjoy? Yes, absolutely. I believe in that 100%. Enjoy the people they work with, enjoy what they do, have pride in what they do. They're always wanting to give their best, and they trust their leaders. So when you look at the diagram now, for example, you have you as the employee in the center, and you want a relationship with your leader where you believe that you're treated fairly. You believe that person when they tell you something. You trust them, there's credibility, and you respect them, and you believe that they respect you. So these are all mutual things. It's not one way where the employee has to feel that way, but the leader also feels that way about their team member. And you also want a scenario where, as a colleague, I have great camaraderie, joy, friendship with my team members, and I take pride in what I do. I don't handle ridiculous work. I remember once I worked in the government, and the minister was traveling and required a brief, and I requested a briefing document from the officer responsible, and the officer sent a 1-year-old brief, something that was written the previous year, as the document for the minister. Now, to me, that officer clearly did not take pride in the work that they did, because if they did, they would have updated it and made sure that there was nothing in the document that could embarrass the minister, and that the minister was current on what is happening in the market. That is his job. So that is a lack of pride, where you're not giving your best, you're not doing your best, and you're just doing, well, in this case, it wasn't even the bare minimum. It was something that was done a year before. So as leaders, what does it look like for a leader? Well, a great place to work is one where managers actually achieve the organizational objectives, because that is very important. But they have employees who give their personal best. They take pride in what they do. They work hard. They're high performers, and they work together as a team, as a family, in an environment of trust. The responsibility for creating this great place to work falls on you, the leader. You have to create an environment where persons trust each other, they're willing to give their personal best, and they are working really hard to achieve the vision of the organization. So the trust model consists of the 5 dimensions that I mentioned before. The first is credibility. As a leader, you have to be believable. People have to trust that you say what you mean, and you mean what you say. You are competent and you have integrity. So you need to be believable, you need to be trustworthy, you need to be reliable, you need to be competent, you need to have knowledge and understanding of the area for which you have responsibility. There needs to be respect. And again, all these things are mutual. It's not just the leader needs to be these things, but the employee, the team member, needs to be these things as well. It's all mutual. So there's mutual credibility. I believe you, you believe me. There's mutual respect. I understand you, I trust you, I give you what you need, I don't belittle you, I don't think less of you because you are not superior to me, I don't think more of you because you are superior to me, I value what you bring to the table, respect. Then there's fairness. I believe that we are all being treated in the same way. No one is getting a preferential treatment because of the school that they went to or the persons that they know in the organization. We're all treated impartially, and there's justice. All the practices in the policies and procedures are what's good for John is good for Sally. And so there's fairness. Then there's pride, as I mentioned, and pride is so important, because if persons don't enjoy what they do, if they don't feel good about the impact that they're making, the difference that they're making by doing this work, if they don't understand how what they're doing impacts the vision, that big picture that you want for the organization that they are working towards, they may not give it the full percent, the 100% that you want from them. So it's about, how do they feel about their individual impact? Do they understand how their work impacts the big picture, impacts the rest of the organization? And how do they feel about the organization? Is this an organization that they want to tell people that they work at? Or is this an organization where, it's questionable? They don't really want anybody to know that they work there, because whenever people hear that they work there, all they can hear are complaints and complaints and complaints and complaints and complaints, or people are angry and attacking them. So what kind of organization do you work in, and how are you contributing to that culture where persons have that feeling? And so you want them to have pride in the work, you want them to have pride in the organization, you want them to have pride in their team. And then the final thing is camaraderie. You want persons to have a strong community where people are friendly and supportive and welcoming. And I say sometimes family, but and that could be true, right? Because in family, everything is not always happy and yay, we're all glad. Sometimes there's a lot of friction in family, and that can happen too. But in this case, it's resolved. You're working it out. You're thinking things through. You have a way to deal with things, and you don't let them fester. So, again, back to my favorite saying, thank God it's Monday. People look forward to coming and seeing their colleagues. They want to see them. They want to be with them. They want to work with them. They want to collaborate with them. They want to do things with them, because they know working together with these persons is a joy, and they're going to be achieving their targets. So what are 9 areas that you can use as a leader to impact trust? Well, the first would be in hiring. How do you hire employees? What do you look for? Are you looking for best talent, or are you looking for right talent? And I spoke about that earlier when I said you may have the best talent. They went to Harvard, they went to an Ivy League school, and they're great on paper. But when you meet them, you realize that the values that they share, which don't make them wrong or right, they're just their values, but those values are different or conflict with the values of the team and with what's important to this organization. And so even though they may be the best talent, they're not the right fit for this team, because there's going to be a clash of values, and there won't be that togetherness that you would really like. So starting with your hiring, how do you ensure that your employees, the new hires, your new team members, are persons who not only have the skill to do the work, but also have the right values and attitudes that will make them fit into the culture of the organization? And how do you, when they come in, how does your team make them feel welcomed and help them to adjust to this new environment? So the next thing is inspiring. Do your team members know how they contribute to the vision, to the company's higher purpose? Do they understand what their role, as small as it may be, as large as it may be, how does that impact the higher purpose, the vision of the organization? Another way is in our communication, how we speak to persons. Are we being honest? Are we being transparent? Or do we speak in double talk? We say one thing, but we mean something else, or we're unclear in our communication. And so persons walk away not knowing what we really meant. The more clear we are, the better the understanding, the more trustworthy and transparent and honest persons will feel that you are. And the other side of communication is listening. Are you accessible? Can your team members find you? Do you actively go out and look for them and get their input and act on it? Or, Are you listening attentively? Are you listening to what is said, to what is sometimes not being said, reading between the lines? I like clear communication, but in some instances, you may have to read between the lines because everybody may not be very forthcoming with what is happening. And there is a culture of being an informer. Some persons may not want to say explicitly, and sometimes you have to listen to what is not being said to understand what is really happening, and then how do you address that. And then there's sharing. The rewards of mutual efforts are shared equitably. So when the team does something together, all who help to produce the results are shared. The benefits of that are shared with the entire team, not just two persons who maybe carried the lion's share, but other persons contributed. So we share the reward when there is shared effort. How are you developing your team members? This is something that's really, really, really very important. Important to me, important for you as a leader. I spoke about succession planning in a few videos ago, and you want to create a space where leaders can step into your role so that you can explore greater and grander and loftier visions. And if you don't develop your leaders, you don't develop your team members, two things happen. One, you can't move on because you are going to be stuck and needed in that role. But two, are your team members really and truly fully equipped to handle the changes that are happening in your market, in your environment, and to do their job to the best of their ability, or to the best of the ability required? So if you're not supporting people, embracing persons, developing persons, that's a problem. Also, do we show our caring, that persons are, I think we have an error here. So developing is actually help employees to grow professionally and personally, and caring is supporting people's lives outside of work. So that seems to be crisscrossed. I apologize for that. So caring is where we look at our team members. We understand that they're human just like we are. They have lives outside of work just like we do, or well, some leaders don't, but you should have work-life balance. And balance doesn't mean that you're having equal time. It means that you're doing things that you enjoy in the different areas of your life, and you're making time for those areas. You're prioritizing what is important to you, and you're making time for those things. As a leader, do you create a workplace that is inclusive, that embraces diversity? Do you allow the space for different thoughts, different opinions from persons from different backgrounds, different cultures, persons who look very different from you, who went to a different type of school than you did, who maybe lived in a different country than you did? Do you allow the space where persons can feel comfortable sharing in your environment and with your team members, and not feel I'm different, and maybe nobody will hear me, maybe nobody will accept what I have to say, and maybe everybody will think I'm crazy? Do you allow that space where even though I'm different, even though I look different from you, even though I have a different background from you, I'm welcomed here, and my thoughts are valued, and I feel valued as a human being and as a person? And the benefits that you as an organization are offering to me, whether it's healthcare or childcare or whatever it is, are meaningful. It's not just benefits that are there but have no basis. I can't benefit from them because I don't operate in that world. So caring about persons, viewing them, seeing them as just as human as you are and as valuable as you are. And then we have celebrating. Organizational team successes are regularly celebrated. Well, you can tell I'm all about celebrating. We want to, because life is not always going to be on the up. Things are not always going to be great. And so you want to celebrate those successes, big or small, when they happen. But you also want to be encouraging your team members through the difficult times and reminding them that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And regularly, not just when it's a bonus time or payday or whatever, but regularly as things occur, let your team members know that you appreciate the work that they're doing. So those are 9 areas that you as a leader can use to impact and develop trust in your team, not just with you, but among your team members, because these are things that you want to encourage each person to do with each other. So we move on in continuing. So we're talking about a great place to work, and Jim Collins wrote an amazing book called Good to Great. And he spoke about companies that were going through a lull, a period, a flat period, and then there's a distinct moment in time where things change, and then they had a sustained path of growth. And he said the 3 things, the 3 broad areas, are that these companies had disciplined people, disciplined thought, and disciplined action. We're going to spend some time today talking about disciplined people. And under that, we have level 5 leadership, first who, then what. Then we'll talk a little bit about disciplined thought. How do you approach things? And we'll talk about confronting the brutal facts and about the hedgehog concept. We won't be getting into disciplined action today, but it's about being disciplined, a culture of discipline. So you have persons who are tuned into your vision, tuned into your values, tuned into your culture, tuned into your deliverables and what's important to you, and they're fanatic about doing it and doing it well. And then the technology accelerators would be using, and now it's even more so than when this book was written, using technology not to create momentum, but to accelerate the momentum that you already have, that you know in the area where, based on the hedgehog concept, you know this is where you should be, this is where you're going to succeed. So we spoke about level 5 leadership in a video or 2 before, where the leader has the mirror and window concept. The leader is driven about doing things for the vision of the organization. It's more than him. He's larger than life. He's driven to get the results, but he's humble about, himself. He doesn't want self-praise. He's not patting himself on the back. So what is a window and mirror? In the window, when there's praise to be given, he's looking out and he's saying, who in my team contributed this work? Who deserves the praise? And in the mirror concept, he looks at himself when things are not so great and he says, you know what? The buck stops with me. And so he accepts responsibility. He looks in the mirror, he accepts responsibility when things go bad. So that is the level 5 leadership. But the first who, then what? What does that mean? Well, the who as a leader that you have to be thinking about is, are the right people on your bus? You are going on a bus to your location. Are your team members the right people? Do you have the correct people on the bus? And are those people in the positions that they need to be in? Are you maximizing the talent? Are you using the talent effectively that you have on the bus? So you may have the right people, right skill set, right attitude, but you have them in the wrong position. So something to think about. The who. Are the right people on the bus, and are they in the right positions? And then the what. How is the bus getting to its destination? What's your plan? What's your strategy? Do you have it mapped out? Do you know where you're going to go? What if you have detours? Do you have a plan for where you could go if something happens? What if there's a flat tire? There are so many things. This is the what. How is the bus getting to its destination? What is your strategy, and what are the different tactics that you have that will deliver, that will result, that will get you to that destination? And then persons may ask, well, what about the wrong people? Well, when you have the wrong people on your team, you need to just weed them out. You need to get them off the bus. If they're the wrong people, if they have the wrong skill set, they're not in the right position, they don't have the right attitude, you need to just get them off the bus. So first who, then what? Find the right people, put them in the right position, have the right strategy, know what the tactics are, and implement them. So we're now talking about thought, and we want to talk about confronting the brutal facts. And this is, they say that saying is, and the truth shall set you free. Well, in this case, it's about being honest with yourself and the reality of what is going on in your team, in your organization. What is your reality? What are the facts? And not your opinion of the facts, not your thoughts on the facts. What are the brutal facts that are in front of you? Not what you would like them to be, not what you would hope them to be, not the worst case scenario. So you don't want to make things worse than they are, and you don't want to make things better than they are. You just want things to be as they are. You want to examine them as they are, and then you want to take decisions based on that. So you need to look at what is working for you in your team and what is not working for you, and how are you addressing it. And if you're a business, you would say, are you bleeding one segment for a segment that will never be profitable? And in a team, you would say, are you ignoring key talent because you think they're good, they can do it, and you're exerting all your attention on a team member that in your heart, you know that person will never make the cut. So you have the information, you have the data in front of you. Look at it objectively, honestly, not what you would like it to be, not worse than it is, but how it actually is, and then make decisions based on that. And then we have the hedgehog concept. And this is really more from a business perspective, but still as a leader, I'd like you to think about it. What are you deeply passionate about? What is it that brings you joy? What do you think you can be the best, maybe not in the world, but certainly within this team at, or within this organization? What are you deeply passionate about? What can you be the best at? And what drives you? What are your motivators? And when you find that intersection, that's where you need to be. And this is what the hedgehog concept is about. So finding that intersecting point, what you're passionate about, what you can be the best in the world. You know, sometimes you're passionate about things. You may know of Usain Bolt. He's an athlete. He ran the 100 meters. He's a legend. He has so many gold medals. And he loves football, for example. But can he be the best in the world at football? Turns out he can't. So that's not something that he spent a lot of time doing. He did try it out, but what he did also love passionately was athletics. And he could be the best in the world at the 100 meters. And he was driven. His drive was that he wanted to be a legend. And that intersecting point, he created that space for himself. He became the legend that he wanted to be. And so think about for yourself as a leader, what are you passionate about? What can you be? What can you and your team be the best at? And what drives you? How do you measure that? He measured his success, Usain Bolt, by the number of gold medals, the number of wins that he had. How would you measure your success? How would you measure that drive? So, and in wrapping up, I'm giving you an assignment because I believe in taking action. You know this about me. We have to take action. So we process our learning. We know what it is that we want to do. First of all, I want you to sit down, find a quiet space, and think about what is your ideal, perfect work environment, and how would you want it to feel as it relates to your organization, your boss, your colleagues, your team members, your clients. And I know these are all emotional things, which is true. We want to get into your emotional state. What would you want to feel? What would you want to hear? Think about. And we've done something similar before. Now I want you to consider not just what you would like as your ideal work environment, but what would your ideal team like as their ideal and perfect work environment? What kind of organization would they like to work for? What kind of boss would they like you to be? What kind of colleagues would they like to have? What kind of clients would they like to have? What would your ideal, perfect work environment be like for you and for your team members? And then based on all that we've discussed, using that as your framework and the Great Place to Work framework where we are creating trust and fairness and credibility and pride, write an action plan of how you are going to create a great place to work environment for the team that you currently lead. And it can be about 1,000 to 1,500 words, totally up to you. But you want to write an action plan, a step-by-step plan. What is your overarching goal? It's to create a great place to work. Write descriptively, what would that look like? How would it function? And then what are the steps that you would need to take to create trust, to create credibility, to create fairness, to create respect, to create pride, to create camaraderie? What are the things that you would need to do to facilitate all of this happening in your team, so that if a survey were to be done, employee satisfaction survey, and some of these questions were asked, your team members would give you 5 out of 5 on a scale where 5 is the highest, because you've helped to create that environment. And again, this is mutual. It's not just what you will be doing, but you are, as the leader, you facilitate this space where all of this can happen. What is your action plan for that? And what is your timeline, your implementation plan, your timeline for how you're going to create these things, and when you expect this all to come together? So until next time, to your unlimited possibilities. Have a great day.